Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Swas. We got NFL Week 16 on Saturday. We got Houston at Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. A couple of cool games, too. Going to go through both of them in this video. I also uploaded a video where I went through the 3 college football playoff games as well. So if you're interested in betting those 3 games, there's another video up on this channel. But yeah, NFL Week 16, Saturday. Let's go. Welcome to The Swas. Hey, get the sauce. All right, we're starting out in Arrowhead. Houston's on the road here. The Chiefs are now laying 3.5. They were catching 2.5 back when there were speculations that Patrick Mahomes may not play in the game. The Chiefs are now laying 3.5, which means I would imagine Patrick Mahomes is going to play in this game. Total sitting at 42 or 42.5, depending on your sports book. Let's take a look at the pie charts, and according to the data, we're pretty split here. Tickets are coming in about 50-50, money leaning towards Houston. About 60% of the handle coming in on the Texans. As I always say, take this data with a grain of salt. So let's start off with a trend here. Over has been the play in Houston, Kansas City games. The last 5 times these two teams have met, it's gone over the total. So 5 straight overs here between the Texans and Chiefs for those of you looking for trends. Anyway, let's match these two teams up on the field. We'll start with the Houston offense against the Kansas City defense, and on paper, the Chiefs should definitely have the edge on this side of the ball. Chiefs are 7th in yards per play, 10th in success rate. Houston, 20th and 30th. So pretty significant edge here for the Chiefs on defense. You look at this graphic right here, and you might think, how on earth are the Texans possibly going to run the ball in this game? The Chiefs' top 10 defensive line in terms of staying on the line of scrimmage. Houston, bottom 10 offensive line in terms of generating push. So not off to a great start here for the Houston run game. Also, they're 9th in zone run frequency. They tend to run more zone concept blocking schemes. Plays into the strength of the Chiefs defense. They're 2nd in yards per carry, 2nd in success rate per rush against zone runs. So how is Houston possibly going to run the ball in this game? Well, hold on, because Houston's actually been a much better running team on the road. This is a little thin, but it's pretty significant. In their home games this year, they're averaging 3.3 yards per carry, under 78 rushing yards per game. In their 7 road games, 5.3 yards per carry, 146.9 rushing yards per game. Now, does that mean I trust Houston to run the ball on the road in Kansas City? No, but it's something. And actually, check this out. This Chiefs run defense, this top 5 run defense, ain't really looking like a top 5 run defense recently. In fact, it's a little concerning. In their last 4 games, they're allowing 4.78 yards per carry, over 108 rushing yards per game, significantly worse than the 7 or 8 games before that. I mean, look at weeks 3 through 11. They were arguably the best run defense in the NFL. In the last 4 games, they're getting run on here, and what makes it even more concerning are the opponents. Carolina, Las Vegas, the Chargers, the Browns, those are not good rushing attacks. In fact, all 4 are bottom half rushing attacks. So you look at this matchup and you're like, Texans aren't a good rushing attack. They can't run the ball on the Chiefs. Well, neither is Carolina, neither are the Raiders, neither are the Chargers, neither are the Browns. These teams are running the ball on Kansas City. So I don't think this Chiefs run defense is all that great right now. And then you add on the fact that Leo Chenal might not play in this game. He's listed as questionable. He's dealing with an illness right now. Check this out. This is from Pro Football Focus. This is their run defense efficiency grades. Leo Chenal, 91.4, best on the Chiefs by far. The next closest is 69.2. So according to PFF, this is their most important piece against the run by far. He might not even play in the game. So I know when you take a quick look at this matchup, you might think, there's no way Houston can run the ball in this one. I actually think the Texans might be able to run the ball a little bit. I mean, the Chiefs' run defense hasn't looked nearly as good, maybe missing a piece. Houston runs better on the road for some weird reason. So I actually think Houston's going to be able to run the ball a little bit in this game. Now let's move on to the matchup for CJ Stroud, and obviously this game is on the road. We'll start with Stroud's home away splits. They are significant. This is the same as last year, dating back to last year. CJ Stroud, for whatever reason, just not as efficient on the road. It's been true again this year. These are the numbers from this season: 7.5 yards per attempt, over 261 passing yards per game, a 93 passer rating at home. Those numbers dropped to 6.6, 82.4, and 215.6 on the road. So CJ Stroud not nearly as good on the road. Also, we have to consider Steve Spagnuolo's blitz packages. The Chiefs are 2nd in blitz rate. I'm not overly worried about the Chiefs pass rush as a whole. They do generate pressure. They're 29th in pressure rate, but that's because opposing teams game plan for it. They get rid of the ball quickly, kind of like the Steelers. And CJ Stroud's actually been pretty good handling pressure this year. It's not so much the pass rush, it's specifically the blitz. The Chiefs blitz a lot. CJ Stroud has struggled against the blitz this year. 26th in completion percentage, 31st in yards per attempt, 27th in passer rating. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He's got a 0% turnover-worthy throw rate. So it's not like he's putting the ball in harm's way, but in terms of making throws against the blitz, it hasn't been all that great for CJ Stroud. So I definitely don't like that. I also don't like how the Chiefs run a ton of too high safety looks, 61.4%, second most in the NFL. CJ Stroud has been much, much better against single high safeties. 17th in completion percentage. I'm not going to read off all the numbers, but you can see the left side of this graphic much better than the right side of this graphic. So I don't like that either for CJ Stroud. So you might be thinking, wow, CJ Stroud is screwed here in this matchup. Well, actually, there's a few positive angles I like for CJ Stroud here. We get into the Chiefs' coverages. They run a lot of man coverage. They actually run a lot of cover 4 as well. They're 6th in man coverage frequency, 5th in cover 4 frequency. CJ Stroud, significantly better against man coverage. 17th in completion percentage, 15th in yards per attempt, 15th in passer rating, 1st in turnover-worthy throw rate. Look at those same numbers against zone, 35th, 22nd, 30th, and 27th. So CJ Stroud, significantly better against man coverage. Also, CJ Stroud's been pretty damn good against cover 4 as well. Top 10 in yards per attempt, passer rating, and turnover-worthy throw rate. So all of a sudden, we're finding a couple positive angles for CJ Stroud here. Also, check this out. Passing depths. The weakness of this Chiefs defense is the deep pass. They're 24th in DVOA against the deep pass. CJ Stroud loves throwing the ball downfield. The strength of the Chiefs defense is defending the short pass. CJ Stroud doesn't throw a ton of short passes, so I like that as well. And we got to bring up the Chiefs injuries again. We talked about Leo Chenal against the run. Look at the secondary. This Chiefs pass defense hasn't been nearly as good since Jalen Watson got hurt. Now Connor's out, so they're missing a starting corner and their nickel. 2 of the top 3 corners are out in this game against the Chiefs. They're going to try to play man coverage against Houston. I actually like the matchup for CJ Stroud. I know trusting CJ Stroud on the road is a nightmare. I mean, I know that's a suicide mission, but I actually like the matchup for CJ Stroud. And like I said earlier, I also think he's going to have some run support. I like the matchup for Houston offensively. Now let's take a look at the matchup on the other side. Let's look at the Chiefs offense, and we'll start with injuries because that's kind of the lead story here. Looks like Patrick Mahomes is going to play. He is practicing. I listed him as probable in this graphic. I think that's accurate. I think Patrick Mahomes probably plays. They are still missing DJ Humphries at left tackle. Rashee Rice is still out, but Hollywood Brown looks like he's going to make his Kansas City Chiefs debut. Now, how much does he move the needle? He's never played on the team before, spent this entire season injured. I don't know if he really impacts the game, his first game out there, but if you're a Chiefs fan moving forward, you definitely love to see that. Here's the problem for the Chiefs offense. They're playing Houston, and the Texans on offense, you could poke all kinds of holes. They've had a ton of problems on the offensive side of the ball, but the Houston Texans defense is official. They're second in the NFL in yards per play, first in success rate. And look at their numbers against the pass. First in success rate per dropback. They're great at getting off the field. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that's the strength of the Chiefs offense. It hasn't looked pretty. The numbers look pretty awful at times, but they stay on the field. They find ways to move the chains. That's exactly what the Texans are great at. So do we think the Chiefs are going to be able to run the ball in this matchup? Well, in the last 3 games, it really hasn't been there. And that's against the Raiders. The Chargers' defense is pretty good, but the Raiders and Browns do not have good run defense. Well, the Raiders have actually been playing better defense against the run as well, to be fair. But in their last 3 games, the Chiefs are averaging 4.2 yards per carry, under 99 rushing yards per game, 31.5%. Success rate per rush is bad. So this Chiefs run game seems to be trending in the wrong direction the last few games, and the Houston run defense, the complete opposite. In their last 5 games, they're allowing 3.6 yards per carry, 90.4 rushing yards per game, success rate per rush at 37.3%. Yes, the Cowboys, Titans, Jags are in there, but so are the Lions and the Dolphins. Well, Dolphins haven't really been running the ball. So to be fair, 4 of these last 5 games are against teams that can't really run the ball, but Detroit's in there. So I don't really think Kansas City's going to be able to run the ball in this game. That being said, the Texans defense has not been nearly as good on the road. I mean, 5.8 yards per play compared to 5.4 at home. Success rate up close to 45% on the road compared to 41% at home. But it's not really the run defense that has let them down on the road. It's their numbers against the pass. For whatever reason, they have problems stopping passing attacks on the road. At home, they've been an elite pass defense. 69.2. Average opponent passer rating at home, it's 97.4. on the road. So this Texans pass defense has really struggled in their road games. They're on the road in Arrowhead against Mahomes. Not something you really want to see. That being said, Mahomes really hasn't looked all that great In their last 3 games, 5.7 yards per attempt, an average passer rating of 85.3, 55.6% success rate per dropback. So they are still finding ways to move the chains, but the passing numbers really don't look great in their last 3 games. Also, I expect Mahomes to be under some pretty heavy pressure here. We saw the offensive line having some problems last week against Cleveland. Houston's pass rush is every bit as good as the Browns. They're 6th in pressure rate, 2nd in adjusted sack rate. Not that Mahomes has been terrible under pressure. I mean, 22nd in yards per attempt, 22nd in passer rating, 19th in pressure to sack rate. He's been okay, about average handling pressure. Really hasn't been great from a clean pocket either, but he should be under pressure in this game, which I don't like. So where does that leave me in terms of placing a bet? Well, I'm on Houston here. I took the plus 3.5. I think this should be 2.5. So I think there's decent value there on plus 3.5. I think they could potentially win the game. I didn't take the money line, though. I am on Houston. I like the matchup for the Texans offensively. Like I said, I think they're going to be able to run the ball a little bit. I actually like the matchup for C.J. Stroud. I'm sure Mahomes will be able to make some throws, but I don't expect the Chiefs to be able to run the ball. So, yeah, I think 3.5 is a solid bet. Give me the Texans plus 3.5 next game. So I thought I was going to have time to do the Steelers-Ravens video, but I went over to my cousin's house for the first half of this Notre Dame game. He's a diehard Notre Dame fan, and I ended up drinking a little bit, so I'm not going to be able to do this video. It's Steelers-Ravens, so you know the trend is the under, right? 8 straight unders have hit in Steelers-Ravens games. Also, weird little fact here, Lamar Jackson has never played against the Steelers in front of Baltimore fans. He's either been injured, or he was sitting because it's the last game of the year and they had something clinched, or the COVID year. So Lamar Jackson has actually never played the Pittsburgh Steelers in front of Baltimore fans before, which I think is weird. There's no Pickens in this game, but TJ Watt is going to play. I mean, I kind of think Baltimore's going to get their revenge from the last game and cover this one, but I don't have a bet on it. We'll talk about it on the live show in the morning. See you all 10:30 a.m. Eastern time.